And initially, we are following those two books which you sent, right? Later on, we will follow the green and the other book.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
In the first lecture, I'll like to give an overview of the subject, and how we will progress through different semesters for this subject. So economics, we divide mainly into two parts, the microeconomics and the macroeconomics. Micro, when we are using the term micro, that means we are focusing on a small unit. So really in microeconomics, we focus on a small unit. The small unit may be a particular individual. In a particular individual who has someone who buys something from the market. In the language of economics, we call that person a consumer. So in microeconomics, our focus will be on consumer, on a particular seller or a producer of a commodity. This micro unit may be a household too. It's not necessary that micro means a single individual, a single buyer, or a single seller. It may be a unit like household. Now, if we broaden the definition, a country or a region, may be considered as a micro unit. And if we go on like this, a group of countries may be also considered as a micro unit. So there will be some specific aspects. If we study those specific aspects like demand, supply, basic issues for a particular, considering a unit as a single unit, then we call it microeconomics. From the slide, you are finding that microeconomics is a branch of economics that studies how individuals and firms make decisions to allocate limited resources, typically in markets where goods or services are being bought and sold. Though here we are writing individuals and firms, this definition of individuals may address really a single individual. It may address a household. It may address a village, a city, a region, a country, a group of countries, etc. Okay, so it will depend on how you are defining the individual. Alternatively, the other branch, macroeconomics, we consider macroeconomics as it will consider a bigger unit, a joint decision. When we consider a joint decision, not individual decision, of allocating limited resources, it is a joint decision. Like, what will be the aggregate output of the country? What will be the inflation rate? What will be the investment of a country? What will be the savings of country? What will be the market rate of interest? So this kind of decision, which is not individual level decision, which will be taken by a body. These kind of decisions will be taken by a body. Now, in our country, the central or the state government, they take this kind of decision. What will be the tax rate? What will be the market rate of interest? What will be the inflation rate? What will be the price of the commodity? So this kind of decisions, which we call the aggregate decision. So if we look at the second point, microeconomics is often contrasted with macroeconomics, which is concerned with the behavior of economic aggregates. So in case of micro, we consider individual unit. In case of macro, we consider economic aggregates, such as aggregate consumption, production, etc. There we talked about individual level consumption, production. That individual level may be the household consumption too, or the consumption of a particular village, consumption of a particular country, but here we will consider economic aggregates. Now, over time, the distinction between microeconomics and macroeconomics is becoming blurred. Nowadays, if you look at the readings, you will find that macro is also taught as micro foundation of macroeconomics. Okay. Because as I am telling you, in case of micro, I can broaden the definition of individual and I can move towards the universe. So you may ask the question, when we are considering universe or the countries which belong to South Asian developed countries, say. So in that case, I am talking about an aggregate, okay, isn't it? So, so over time, what has happened as the economy developed, the definition of micro and the difference or the distinction between micro and the macroeconomics became continuously blurred. It is very difficult to make distinction between clearly this is the micro and clearly this is the macro. What I mentioned, more we discuss about micro foundation of macroeconomics. Now still, as beginners, we may consider that the goal of macroeconomics seems to be understand and predict the behavior of aggregate economic variables like consumption, investment, employment, etc., rather than understand a single economic unit or market in isolation. Okay, so in micro, there is a scope that I'll consider nitty-gritties of a small unit, and we will try to study the behavior of that unit. In macro, we don't have that scope. We will consider the things as the aggregate thing. What will be the employment rate? What will be the unemployment rate? What will be the poverty level, or what will be the measure of poverty level? How we will measure it? So all these kind of decisions will come from the macro concepts. Okay, so these are some basic definitions of micro and macroeconomics. As you go on and you go through the things, you will understand the things better. Now, in your entire course, there are 3 microeconomics courses as well as 3 macroeconomic courses. So in these, in 3 microeconomic courses, in this first course, we will mainly focus on consumers and producers. In the next semester, our focus will be on different types of commodity markets as well as different types of factor markets. And finally, in the last semester, we will talk something about, the economics where we have uncertainty. We will talk about some aspects of game theory. We will talk about welfare economics, etc. So that will be the last course. So in these courses, one by one, we will try to understand all these things. Macro, again, we are dividing into 3 courses. In second semester, you will get 1 macro course. And in third and fourth semester, again, you will get macro courses. Okay. So by fourth semester, we will complete all micro and macro courses. In first and second semester, you have mathematical economics courses where you will learn tools and techniques which you will use for analysis of micro and macroeconomics. In third and fourth semester, we will focus on statistical tools and econometric analysis. So in third and fourth semester, you will have 1 micro paper, 1 macro paper. In third, you will have the statistics, where starting from probability, we will move up to inference. And in the fourth semester, applying all the statistical tools, we will learn econometrics, introductory econometrics. where whatever things we are learning from the theory, we will like to understand using the data, how we will really estimate demand, how we will really estimate supply from the data, or really find out the investment or savings function from real life data. So that we need to learn. So that we will do in the fourth semester. The fifth and sixth semesters are mostly application based. Whatever you learned throughout this fourth semester, that you will apply to learn several things. So there will be some fixed courses like Indian economic courses as well as development economics courses. Along with that, there will be optional courses where you need to select the options, and accordingly, you will get the lessons related to that. So all these things will happen step by step. In between, in third and fourth semester, you will have skill enhancement courses. In third semester, in skill enhancement courses, mainly you will learn several software which will help you to handle the database. I mentioned in the fourth semester you will learn econometrics. However, to convert the data or to present the data in terms of economic model building exercises, you need some software which will help you to do this job. So this you will do in your third semester skill enhancement course. In the fourth semester, again, in the skill enhancement course, you will get chance to apply several concepts which you are learning, and the packages you learned. Using those things, you will write small projects, etc. So all these things will happen. So these are the basics of the structure. We are starting with micro and mapico, and then we will move towards macro and statistics and econometrics and Indian economics, development economics, optional papers where you will learn international trade, advanced econometric tools, advanced game theoretic tools, environment economics, public economics, etc. All these things will happen. Okay. So now I'm coming back to this particular course, that is Microeconomics I, Principles of Microeconomics. So the first chapter we will consider will have 4 parts. First, I'll tell you the introduction of optimization and allocation. As I mentioned in the definition of microeconomics, microeconomics concentrates on allocation of limited resources. Resources are scarce, limited. So in microeconomics, we have to put emphasis on how these limited resources can be optimally utilized. So we need to learn about what is optimization in context of microeconomics, and how using optimization principle we can allocate the limited resources in a fair way among all individuals. In the first chapter, after understanding the importance of optimization and allocation, we will discuss different definitions of various types of markets. I'll also talk about different types of economic measurements we need in case of microeconomics. And I'll finally talk about what actually the journey of microeconomics, how the subject evolved, okay, or how it will help us to analyze the real life situation economically. Okay, so it will be the it is how we will understand the philosophy of the subject. Okay, so what does economic analysis means from the viewpoint of microeconomics? So today I'd like to cover all these aspects. Let me see whether I can cover the entire thing, or I need to I don't know whether I have to split the things. Now, before moving to optimization and allocation, do anyone have any question at this moment?
Ma'am, can I ask a question?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, I just wanted to clear the fact that all these topics, these four topics, are under the first principle of economics, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to
One
get that.
only. This is chapter one only, you know. In
Okay,
chapter one, I'll cover all these things. So this will be our chapter one, you know. So different
okay.
will cover different aspects. You will not get a single book, you know, where you will get all the things, you know, which we are covering in the class, or, you know, you will not find that in a single chapter, all these things will come, you know. So
Yes,
it is
yes.
like class 2 level study. Now you are doing your major.
Sure.
However, if I give the outline of the first chapter, it will be like this. We need to understand the issue of optimization and allocation. We need to understand definitions of different types of markets. We need to understand what economic measurements here we need, and we need to understand what is basically we will analyze in context of microeconomics in total journey in
Yes, yes.
you know, up to fourth semester.
Okay, got it, ma'am. Thank you.
Anyone else? So first, let's try to understand what is optimization and allocation. In the beginning, I mentioned that if it is possible, you can keep one differential calculus course, because we use that tool a lot in context of economics. Okay. So actually, the basic tool which we use in context of microeconomics, that is optimization principle. If we consider consumer theory, you know, in this semester, mainly in this course, we will learn the consumer theory, a major part of consumer theory. It will be continued in the next semester too, and a major part of the producer theory. And again, in the next semester, both the things will be continued, you know. So if we consider the consumer theory, if we consider the producer theory, you will find that either we are maximizing something or we are minimizing something. In consumer theory, we try to maximize the preference. Those who have some knowledge about economics, they learn the things in that way. There is one term, utility, you know, whatever we enjoy from a commodity, from a service, we call that concept the utility. Okay. So actually, in consumer theory, in general language, we can say that we will try to maximize our preference subject to the limited income or limited time, etc. Okay. So subject to some limitations, how we can maximize our utility or how we can maximize our preferences. If we consider the producer's theory, if we look at the thing from seller's viewpoint, seller's objective may be to maximize the production or output subject to budget or subject to cost, or it may be minimization of cost subject to output. So what may be done? First, I am deciding this will be my maximum limit of budget. This expense I can do at maximum, and subject to that, I may decide what will be my production, how much I'll produce. So in that case, you are talking about maximization of output subject to cost constraint, or you may view the problem from different angle. You may fix the volume and then you may decide upon the cost. So minimization of cost subject to that decided level of output. Or you may view other problem like, you know, maximization of profit subject to some limited capital. Okay. So whatever be the thing, you will find that either you are maximizing something or you are minimizing something. Okay. So in economics, especially in microeconomics, we consider different types of optimization. Okay. You are finding a line, some economists have gone far identifying optimizing behavior with rational behavior. In microeconomics, to begin with, we consider the individual is a selfish individual. So subject to the limited income or subject to limited time, the individual will always like to maximize his or her will, utility, preferences, profit, etc. And this school of economic thought, has gone far identifying optimizing behavior with rational behavior. They present this optimization as the rational behavior. So given my income, I should maximize my utility. Given my budget, I should maximize my output. So all this kind of things. This is considered as rational behavior. An individual has preferences among the available choice of alternatives that allow them to state which option they prefer. Optimization means this thing, you have the alternatives, and from the bunch of alternatives, you are selecting the best. Okay. So this kind of thing. These preferences are assumed to be complete. I'm emphasizing on the term complete. The preferences are assumed to be complete, which means the person can always say which of the two alternatives they consider preferable or that neither is preferred to the other. Okay. So it's not that only the bunch will be given and sometimes it will say, this is good for you. Sometimes you will say, no, this will be good for you. We are not considering that kind of behavior. We are assuming that preferences are complete. A rational individual means his or her preferences are complete. Given the alternatives, that individual can state this commodity is preferred to that, or this bundle is preferred to that. That is given oranges and apples in the basket, the individual can state that 2 oranges and 3 apples will be best for me, or 5 oranges and no apple will be best for me. Or the individual will be able to state, I don't like both orange and apple. Okay, so the preference is complete. The second thing is, the preference is transitive. Transitive. If option A is preferred over option B and option B is preferred over option C, then A is preferred to C. Okay. For example, you can take note of different combinations of apples and orange, So in basket, suppose you have 10 oranges and 10 apples. So if you say that 2 oranges and 3 apples are preferred to 5 oranges, preferred to 6 apples. In that case, 2 apples and 3 oranges are preferred to 6 apples too. So this is the idea. If A is preferred to B, then B is preferred to C, then A is preferred to C. And if you go on like this, if A is preferred to B, B is preferred to C, C is preferred to D, and so on, X is preferred to Y, Y is preferred to Z, then A is preferred to Z, but not the other way round. Never Z is preferred to A. Always A is preferred to Z. So choice is like that, or the optimization or the rational behavior or the rational individual we are talking about, those rational individuals will have complete preferences and transitive choice. The rational agent is assumed to take account of available information, probabilities of events, and potential costs and benefits in determining preferences, and to act consistently in choosing the self-determined best choice of action. Okay, so when you are selecting the subject economics, when you are selecting this department, we will try to consider you as rational agent who considered or took account all available information, probabilities of events, and potential costs and benefits. In deciding on, you will learn economics at Department of Economics, Presidency University. Okay, and you feel that this is the best choice of action. Okay, so this is the concept of rationality or rational individual. In economics, if we consider consumer, we consider the consumer as the rational individual. If we consider the producer, we consider producer as the rational individual. Once an optimization problem describing an economic choice is written down, mathematical tools are used to solve the exercises. And in this context, the issue of optimization is coming. You are trying to find out best. Now, how we will do this? Using the maximization principle or using the minimization principle. In case of profit maximization, generally it happens directly you are maximizing profit. In case of revenue maximization, revenue is price into quantity. So when a producer tries to maximize revenue, say, then also generally we consider unconstrained optimization. Directly we maximize profit or directly we maximize revenue. However, if we consider the optimization exercise of consumer, maximization of utility subject to budget constraint or income constraint we consider. If we consider output maximization, then we do it subject to cost constraint. Or if we consider cost minimization exercise, we do it with the output constraint. So when you will learn the optimization or use optimization in context of economics, you will find that either you are going for unconstrained maximization, minimization, or you are going for constrained maximization and minimization. Whatever be the thing, optimization is very, very important tool to analyze economic issues in context of microeconomics. So in your first year mathematical economic course, you will learn a lot about this kind of optimization. However, your learning will be not completed in this semester. That will be also continued in the next semester. The hypothesis that the behavior under examination is optimizing behavior allows one. Why we are optimizing? Question is why we are optimizing. We are optimizing our behavior to define optimum allocation of commodities or the raw materials. Now, if you are a producer, you have limited land, limited investable capacity, that is limited capital, limited raw materials. So everything is scarce. If I am a consumer, I'll consider commodities as scarce. If I am a producer, I'll consider raw materials, land, labor, all these things are scarce. So this optimization will help us to allocate the resources optimally for commodities as well as for raw materials. Draw non-trivial inferences about how these allocations will respond to changes in economic environment. So microeconomics is not only telling what will be the optimization or what will be the optimum behavior or what will be the optimum allocation of resources. Here we will discuss a number of comparative statics or sensitivity analysis. If price changes, what will be the demand? If market rate of interest changes, what will be the future demand for bonds? What will be the future savings? What will be the future investment at individual level? You know, so if this happens, what will be the change regarding the solution which we got at the initial level? So a lot of comparative statics as well as sensitivity analysis will also come along with optimization. So rational behavior, first you have to remember the issue related to rational behavior. Rationality means the choice is complete, the choice is transitive. Then you need to understand, to begin with, we consider rationality is equivalent to optimization. Optimization regarding allocation of resources. If we look at the thing from demander's viewpoint, it will be optimum allocation of commodities. If we look at the thing from producer's viewpoint or seller's viewpoint, it is optimum allocation of raw materials. So this is the first step. Rational behavior leading towards optimization, leading to optimum allocation of resource. Now the second question is whether this optimum allocation is the universe allocation of resources. The answer is we have to go for different comparative static as well as sensitivity analysis to understand whether if there is any change, this equation or this relation will remain unchanged, or there will be some change with respect to this relation or this solution. So when we will talk about consumer theory, producers theory, analyze different types of markets, we will do all these things. First, we will try to find out a solution. In language of economics, we call it equilibrium. Then we will consider several parametric shifts, if this changes, that changes, etc. And how those kind of changes affect that solution or equilibrium which we got initially. So this is all about the first thing, optimization and allocation. This issue will come in different context, in context of consumer theory, producer theory, in context of analysis of different types of markets. Later, we will consider the welfare economics, then also this optimization, allocation, these issues will appear. Next, as I mentioned in the introductory lecture, we need to understand, what is the space? What is the space where these different units will interact with each other? To simplify the entire context, if we consider the whole set as the set of individuals, you will find that there will be mainly two broad subsets: demanders or consumers and sellers or producers. So there are group who are demanding commodity, and there is another group which are supplying the commodity. Okay. So if we divide the whole set into these two mutually exclusive subsets, we need a space where these two groups will interact with each other. These groups may interact with each other in physical space. These two groups may interact in some virtual place too. And nowadays, mostly we are, these two groups are meeting in the virtual places, because we are going for so many online orders, etc. So virtual place. So in physical place, this interaction may take place. In virtual place also, this interaction may take place. Okay. So This place, be it the real or physical space, be it a virtual space, we call this space the markets, where these two groups interact with each other. So market is a place where buyers and sellers come together to exchange some product or good. Markets we can divide into two main categories: product or commodity markets and factor markets or market of raw materials. So the two broad markets are commodity or product markets, market for finished goods actually, and market for raw materials, which we call the factor market. You will find that in the commodity or the product market, buyers are the individuals like you and me, and sellers are firms. Okay, different firms are selling the commodity. Different brands are there, different firms are there, they are selling the commodity. In the factor market, firms, who are the sellers in the product market, they are the buyers, and they are buying the raw materials from the individuals. So you may have some land, you are giving the land in lease to some producer who will set a factory to that space or set an industry to that space or on that particular land. Or I can give physical labor. Okay, so I can provide labor. Okay, so in that case also I'm selling my labor, and against this I'm getting money. Okay, so individuals are sellers here. You may have some land, we can sell our labor. Okay, or I may have some raw materials, then also I can sell this. Okay, so and farms are the buyers. Farms are the buyers. So the reverse relation holds between these two markets, the commodity market and the factor markets. In a factor market, buyers are firms who need to hire workers and borrow money for capital expenditure, and sellers are individuals who provide labor and save money in banks. And with the help of this kind of savings, we are going to the commodity market and buying the commodities. Okay, so these individuals are selling the labors or leasing, giving lease to the land, etc. And against this, getting the money from the firms. This money we are saving or spending in the commodity market. Okay, so we are becoming buyers in the commodity market in that way. So there is a circular kind of flow between the product market and the factor market. The individuals, as you are getting from the table, individuals who are buyers in the product market, they are becoming sellers in the factor market, earning the money, selling the resource, and going to the commodity market to buy the commodities. Okay, so there is a kind of circular relation between the commodity market and the factor market. Now, commodity market again can be divided into four major categories: competitive market, monopolistic market, oligopoly, and monopoly. So there are four varieties, four major varieties: perfect competition, monopolistic market, oligopolistic market, and monopoly. Okay, so we will try to understand briefs of these four types of markets. We will get all details of these four markets, in your next semester. In fact, in this semester too, when I'll talk about the structure of market demand and supply, then also I have to mention different issues related to competitive market, because the issues of demand and supply will be introduced considering a market to be competitive. In case of production too, you will start with considering a competitive market. And later in the next semester, you will understand a competitive market in a better way. Along with that, you need to understand the monopolistic, oligopolistic, and the monopoly situation as well. Now, to begin with, in competitive market, generally, the commodities will be homogeneous. All the sellers are selling similar products. There will be multiple sellers. As I mentioned, sellers are many. So there are multiple sellers of a homogeneous product. Products are not varying from one seller to other. Now, if you look at the market of wristwatch, say, we will be not able to say that, all the brands are equivalent. We will say that, this brand is a bit different from this brand, etc. So if you look at your pens, we cannot say that all pens are homogeneous. Okay. So there is some kind of variation among different brands or different companies, products of different companies. Okay. Competitive market is not like that. Competitive market is a market where there are numerous sellers and buyers, and products are absolutely homogeneous, identical products. There are several other issues too. In competitive market, we assume the information is complete. Buyers and sellers have full information about the products. No difference in information. We have full information about the product. Now the question is, then what is the reverse? What is the meaning of incomplete information? Now, if you consider the market of second-hand commodities, second-hand automobiles, say, in that case, seller has better information compared to buyers. You know very well whether there is any problem in your product or not. But when you are advertising the commodity in the second-hand market, most of the times you will mention about the positive part. You will not reveal the negative part. So there is complete information, or there will be more information on seller side compared to the buyer side. However, if it is health insurance, in that case, buyer has more information than the sellers. You are purchasing an insurance. You know more about your health. It may happen that you are not revealing several aspects while you are purchasing the insurance. So in that case, the buyer has more information compared to the sellers. In case of the second-hand commodity market, sellers have more information than buyer. In case of insurance, especially health insurance, buyers have more information than seller. So we call it asymmetric information. Asymmetric information. Information is incomplete for one group. In perfect competition, we are not considering that. Both buyers and sellers have complete information about the product. They understand the product, very well, and that is common to all. There is no government intervention. It is a free market. Buyers and sellers are coming, and where the market is cleared, that is total demand is equal to total supply, price will be settled there. So there will be no outside intervention or government intervention, or nobody will intervene. So if this is the context, homogeneous product, many buyers and sellers, no government intervention, and complete information, we get competitive market. Now this market is an ideal market. it's very difficult to find out an example of this kind of competitive market. However, to begin with, theoretically, if we understand the ideal one, in that case, we will be able to understand what will be the situation if it deviates from the ideal. Okay, so always we start with the ideal condition. Okay, therefore, always we start with competitive condition. Now, one example of competitive market is agricultural products, So agricultural markets, many a times we give the example of agricultural markets. We say that in vegetable market, commodities are more or less similar, identical, homogeneous, many buyers, many sellers. Okay. So we pose agricultural market as an example of perfect competition. However, you may think that, now there are bio products, non-bio products, polished products, unpolished products. So, a complicated situation. So we don't know in today's world whether we can consider the agricultural market as a competitive market. Okay. However, more or less, if you do not consider all this recent development of biomarket, non-biomarket, etc., in that case, more or less, we can consider this as competitive market. Again, the new issue of farmers, so everybody is finding that, in the entire country, all the protest of farmers are going on. Are you aware of this thing? The protest of the farmers.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is against a bill. Now government is bringing a bill. Government is trying to intervene something. Therefore, farmers are protesting. For this, against this bill, etc. So all this is happening. You cannot capture our markets. You cannot say this will be the price. We need to sell it in the open market, or you have to give me the right, what will be the market price for the commodity. So all these things are happening, So you cannot bring a bill like this. Okay. So if really this bill is implemented, we will be not able to consider the agricultural market as a competitive market because there is government intervention. Okay. So, still in terms of homogeneity of the product, we may consider it as a competitive market. The next is monopolistic market. In case of monopolistic market, the commodities are heterogeneous rather than homogeneous. Now, when we are telling the commodities are heterogeneous, actually we are talking about different brands telling us this brand has this typical facility. However, under many circumstances, we find that the difference is not real, only superficial difference. The difference is regarding the color, the difference is regarding the packaging, etc. However, sometimes there is some real differences too, like difference in chemical composition, etc. If you look at the market for wristwatch, if you look at the market for detergent, if you look at the market for soaps, body soaps, etc., all these are example of monopolistic competition. Different brands are there, and different brands are telling that this way my product is different from other. So there is product differentiation. However, when we will learn about this market well, you will find that actually there may be no difference between Hallmark and Archie's. Okay, so the difference is maybe only superficial. Somebody has preference for Archie's, somebody has preferences for Hallmark. More or less the things are same. So maybe some difference in color, etc. Okay, so there may be real difference, there may be superficial difference. However, there is the concept of product differentiation. So monopolistic competition is not based on homogeneous product concept, it is based on heterogeneous product concept. Again, sellers are many, buyers are many. Now, if I move towards oligopoly, okay, in oligopoly, you will find the product groups. So you will not find a number of sellers, however, you will find a few sellers, product groups, like, in case of aeroplanes, in case of rockets, So we are not getting so many firms are producing these things. Okay. Some product groups are doing this thing. So it is the oligopolistic in newspaper, in case of newspaper too, in case of different production houses too. So there are few sellers, however, many buyers. Buyers are always many, crores and crores of people. So, buyers are always many. And finally, we talk about the monopoly situation. Monopoly means mono, means single. Okay. So one seller, one particular seller of the commodity. Okay. So if we look at the example, monopolistic competition, restaurants, haircuts, each one offers something different and possesses an element of uniqueness, but all are essentially competing for the same customers, many customers. Monopoly,
Ma'am, Google and Facebook.
yeah, these are monopoly, Railway, Microsoft, De Beers in case of diamonds, natural gas companies, Google, Facebook. These are almost doing the monopoly. There may be some competitor, but not equivalent competitor. So we can still consider the Google, Facebook as monopoly. Next is oligopoly. Oligopoly, in case of monopolistic competition, I mentioned about product differentiation. So product differentiation is a major thing under monopolistic competition. In case of monopoly, there is a single producer. So I should not mention about whether the commodity is heterogeneous, homogeneous, product differentiation, etc., because there is single producer. Actually, looking at the example, you are understanding that huge investment is required for these particular services or commodities. Okay. So it's very difficult to get some alternative. Therefore, generally, this monopoly situation holds because of huge requirement of investment. Oligopoly, few sellers. Here, you will learn about a specific term, strategic behavior. The groups of firms or company groups, they are behaving in such a manner so that there is some deterrence to entry. Together, they are taking some kind of strategic behavior so that I'll not allow somebody to enter. Okay. So there will be different types of strategic behavior. Okay. So different types of strategic behavior is the essence of oligopolistic market. Cable television services, airlines, computers and software, smartphone, automobiles, these are oligopoly. It's not a single seller, single producer, but again, it is not too many, only a few. And when we will discuss about this kind of monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic situation, different types of issues related to corruptions, etc., all these things will come. Okay. So one by one, we will reveal different aspects, and you will learn the things. Now, there is another very important tool which we learn in context of economics, that is the game theoretic tool. Game, the notion of game. Okay. The concept of oligopoly or the strategic behavior is related to that game. The strategic behavior, when we will present mathematically using different matrices, we call this branch the game theoretic operation. Okay. So this oligopoly is very, very interesting and will be related to the entire lessons of game theory. So, these are the basic things I needed to mention about 4 types of commodity markets. If we consider the factor markets, the other variety we talked about, the factor markets, where the firms are buyers and individuals are sellers. If we consider that market, 2 major constructs that we will find. One is monopsony and other is oligopsony. Monopsony is the context when we have many sellers, however, only one buyer. Okay. Here, the sellers will be always many. In commodity market, buyers will be always many. Sellers may be many, a few, one. Alternatively, in the factor market, sellers will be always many because, again, crores and crores, millions and billions of individuals are there. Okay. So sellers are always many. However, there may be a single buyer who is capturing all the resources. Or there may be a few buyers who are purchasing the resources. So there may be a single buyer or a group of buyers. Okay. Now, examples of monopsony and oligopsony. Monopsony, classic case is a company town. Okay. So in our state, Asansol, Durgapur, all these townships have been developed in that way. A typical kind of requirement of engineers or laborers were required related to mines, etc. And therefore, these places were developed like company towns. So if there is a company town, company needs this kind of resources, developing the things in that way, and concentrating or keeping that company as the central place, the area develops. Okay. So, and you will find that all the people staying there are somehow related to that company. They are doing different kinds of jobs related to that particular company. So typically it's a monopsony situation. You are investing on a particular area and the entire township is developing, keeping that company in the central position. Okay. There are also examples in agriculture when governments create marketing boards to which farmers are required to sell their crops. Okay. So now the entire agro bill is coming in this line. Okay. So government wants to procure the entire thing. Okay. So all the problems are related to all these things. Now there is this kind of practice, when the inflation rate is too high, in that case, government fix the prices, try to procure the things and bring the commodities in the market with some lower price, etc. But, if this is the situation for all agricultural commodities for entire period, there may be some kind of issues, and therefore all the farmers are protesting against the bill. Okay? So monopsony is this kind of thing. Oligopsony, few buyers, many sellers always, but few buyers. So here there are several examples. Among these examples, which we will understand better, is the big supermarket chains. Okay, so now there is Big Basket, there is Amazon, and all these kind of things. They are buying the commodities and putting a price tag and selling all types of commodities in the market. Okay, this entire virtual market is based on this kind of things, and there are some physical markets too, different companies. It started with mainly with big bazaar, and now we are getting all this kind of things there in physical space too. Reliance is there, Spencer is there. So big supermarket chains are doing all these things, purchasing the commodities from different types of sellers, and then they are putting their own price tag and selling the commodities in the market. Okay. So this is the idea about different types of markets. Any question?
Oh, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm going to the third aspect, economic measurement. If we like to introduce economic measurements, or the concepts of economic measurements, first we will divide the concept into two categories: the flow variables and the stock variables. Flow variables and the stock variables. Now first, what is a stock variable? Not measured with respect to time. Example, price, wealth, inventories, etc. Now price changes over time, price changes, okay, but not on a regular basis. Not, at this time point, say 11:05 the price is this, and on 12:30 the price will be that. Okay, so it is not like that. It for a longer period it remains fixed, and then there will be some changes. Okay, so generally price and wealth, wealth does not change regularly. If you have some landed property, if you have your own house, if you have your own car, all these things are fixed. So if you inherit something, that kind of wealth too. Inventories. Okay, for industry level, we will consider inventories, the surplus you have, the inventories you have. All these things are stock variable. It is not changing regularly with respect to time. There are parallelly a number of flow variables in economics measured per some unit of time. These are changing more regularly. Production, consumption, income. Okay, so these are changing more regularly compared to the earlier set. It's not that the earlier set will never change. It will also change. Okay, so this kind of situation. There are two additional very important flow variables in economics. Number one, expenditure, and number two, revenue. Expenditure is the variable which generally comes from the demander side, from the consumer side, which is price into quantity, price into consumption, total volume you are consuming. So it is the expenditure. From the producer side or the seller side, we get a similar type of variable. However, we call it the revenue, price into quantity. First one is also price into quantity. This one is also price into quantity. But in the first case, quantity is quantity you are consuming. In case of revenue, it will be quantity a particular firm is producing. So production, consumption, income, expenditure, revenue, these are more flexible with respect to time compared to the first set of variables. Therefore, the second set we call the flow variables, and whereas the first set we call the stock variables. Now, if we talk about prices, in microeconomics, we will talk about two types of prices: nominal price and real price. Nominal price is the absolute or the current price. If you consider in terms of the exchange, the universal exchange happens in terms of dollars. So the absolute or current dollar price of a commodity or service when it is sold. Actual price. There is another concept which we call the real price. Real price is the adjusted price. It is adjusted by the inflation rate. Okay. Now, this adjusted price, and it is also a relative price because you are adjusting it with respect to the inflation rate. So the price to an aggregate measure of prices or constant dollar price, we consider it to be a real price. It is also, it also measures prices relative to others, price after adjustment for inflation. Okay. This concept of real price is more important to a student of economics because this real price will tell us about the purchasing power. It will state the purchasing power because it is the price adjusted by the inflation rate. Okay, so it will tell us really how much we will be able to buy. So real price is the purchasing power of the individual. So though in general, when we talk about price, we consider the price to be the actual price, which in the language of economics we are calling the nominal price. As a student of economics, we will be more interested about the other concept of price, which is the real price, which is the adjusted price, adjusted by inflation rate. Okay, because it will tell us really how much we will be able to buy. Okay. Now, to understand the things better, here we introduce the concept of consumer price index, CPI, consumer price index. Consumer price index states total spending on a market basket of goods. To understand the consumer price index, first we need to understand how we will consider the inflation rate. Gross inflation rate or inflation rate, the entire inflation rate, not adjusted. Inflation rate is equal to consumer price index in current year divided by consumer price index in base year. Now, nowadays we are getting from media, and when we are going to the market, the price of vegetables, potato, everything is too much. Okay, now why we are understanding it is too much? There is some base price and we are comparing this with respect to base price. Since there is some base price, we are telling this price is higher, lower, etc., etc. Okay. So with respect to base year price, consumer price index, we have to compare the current price. Okay. So inflation rate is measured in that way. Total spending on a market basket of goods, this time divided by total spending on this similar basket in the base year. So formula for real price is nominal price, that is the current year price, divided by inflation rate. Now, when you are considering the inflation rate, is base year to current year. In other words, we may write the formula as nominal price, that is the current year price, divided by this we are keeping in the denominator, CPI current divided by CPI base. This was the definition of the inflation rate. So real price is equal to nominal price divided by consumer price index, current period divided by consumer price index, base period. And remember that what is CPI? It is the total spending on the market basket of goods. There is a note on CPI. The CPI is calculated using the formula CPI is equal to cost of the basket in current period divided by cost of basket in base period multiplied with 100. Generally, we present consumer price index in terms of percentage terms. So we consider the cost of basket in current period divided by cost of basket in base period. Suppose cost of basket in 2020 December divided by cost of basket in, say, if we consider 19 if we consider the 2005 or 2005 will be better. 2015 is the base year. So cost of the same basket in 2015 price. So that you have to consider multiplied with 100. Now what will be your base year? That will be given by the statistical chart. So if I consider inflation rate of this year, which year I'll consider as the base year, that will be given by the government record. Using the, actually the Reserve Bank also, publish all these things. What will be the base year in our country? Okay, the Reserve Bank of India decides what will be, which year will be considered as the base year. Using the number of simple, using the numbers for a simple example, the CPI is, 70 by 50 into 100, say, which is giving the number 140. Okay. So what we are understanding, if this basket prices 100 rupees in base year, now the cost of this basket is 140. The CPI is 40% higher in the current period than in the base period. So this is the idea. So I'm considering the current period price, dividing it by the base period price, multiplying it by 100. So we are getting the CPI, Consumer Price Index. And with respect to 100, we will compare these. If we find this to be 80, we will understand the price has been reduced. And if we get this is higher, we are understanding there is an inflation. For the same basket, we are paying this much. And how much is that increase? 40% is the increase. Okay. This table is there, this is regarding the average tuition fees in college in 1970 to 2002. So you will get this table in the presentation. Now you try on your own, how I have claimed this statement. Notice that from 1970 to 2002, nominal price increased by 7 times, but real price increases by 1.5 times. So this will be your homework. Look at this table, look at this formula, and try to understand how I have came to this conclusion. Okay. From 1970 to 2002, nominal price increases by 7 times, but real price increases by 1.5 times. Okay. Because, and if we understand real price increases by 1.5 times, so we will understand by this time there is a inflation, and because of inflation the price has increased. So institution has increased the charge only by 1.5 times, not by 7 times. Apparently it seems to be as if institution has changed the price 7 times. However, it's not a 7 times increase, it is only 1.5% increase, rest is inflation. Okay. So as students of economics, we emphasize on these issues, and therefore the calculation of CPI, calculation of nominal price, these are very important to us so that we can analyze the data accordingly and we can analyze the situation, in a right way. Another thing here I should mention, as students of economics, if I state price of this commodity is this much, there is no meaning for this. I have to mention about relative price. Price of one commodity expressed in terms of other commodity. If there are two commodities, simple market, two commodities, X and Y. So where I cannot state PX or I cannot state PY. Rather, we will present PX by PY, relative price. Okay. Now, when we consider the relative price, one other important concept comes in the scenario. That is the notion of numeraire. So if we look at the first point, in economics, commodities or goods are presented in terms of other goods, or commodity or good in terms of which all other prices are expressed. So there will be some reference commodity. With respect to that, we consider the price of other commodities. Generally, the norm is we consider the gold price. And with respect to the gold price, we compare the prices of other commodities or services. It is the general feature, So if gold price increases, there will be change in prices of each and everything. Okay. However, to understand the things better, nowadays, we put more emphasis on exchange rate. So, we generally use the financial definition here or finance tool here. Currency in terms of which the value of all other currencies is expressed. For example, the US dollar. So instead of considering price of X with respect to price of Y, it will be more sensible to consider price of X for all the countries and to then present it in terms of dollar unit, so that we will understand for these particular X, the price in UK will be this much, the price in Netherlands will be this much, price in India will be this much, price in Bangladesh will be this much. Okay. So we present price of X in terms of US dollar for the same commodity. So this is the financial tool. Currency is the financial tool, but generally we consider this kind of exchange rates, price in terms of internationally accepted exchange rate. So converting price or commodities in terms of a single unit is called, setting a new barrier. Setting a new barrier. Now, as beginners, when we will consider the two commodity world, X and Y are two commodities, and we will analyze the two commodity world, price of X is given by Px, price of Y is given by Py, and we talk about the relative price, etc. For simplicity, we will set the new barrier at 1. So, Px by 1. Instead of considering Px by Py, we will consider Px by 1 so that we can talk about Px. So whenever in your entire lessons, you will get some Px, you have to understand it is not Px at all. It is a relative price of X where we are fixing the numerator at 1. Okay. So always price is presented as a relative price. Simply it is Px by Py or Px by Pz. However, for simplifying the situation, we may set the numerator at 1 and we can present the price as Px or Py or Pz, etc. So this is the way by which we present the prices. Finally, we have reached to the fourth section, economic analysis. We understood we have to consider optimization. This will help us to allocate the scarce resources or scarce commodities, number 1. Number 2, we have understood there will be different types of markets, both for the commodities or the finished things and for raw materials or factors. Demanders and suppliers are the main players here. They will come here, they will interact in different ways, and we will get a sense of different types of markets. Third, when these individuals will interact with each other, what will be the mechanism by which they can interact with each other? You need some common element by which you can interact. Initially, there was barter economy. Okay, I am giving you a basket of orange, against these, you give me a dress. Okay, so this is possible for a very, very small, confined economy. Robinson Crusoe's economics. Very confined economy. Nowadays, the physical market, virtual market, the big thing. So you need some single common thing by which, the demanders and suppliers will make exchange of commodities. So that thing is the price. And in that context, we are mentioning several concepts, when we are looking at a price, that may be the nominal price, that may be the real price. As students of economics, we will focus more on real price because that is the inflation adjusted price. Then question is how we will measure inflation. What is the concept of inflation? We know that it is the changing price. Now, how we will formally present it? We will formally present it in terms of consumer price index. Current price divided by base price into 100. This will be the structure. This way we will calculate the inflation rate, and we will try to find out the inflation adjusted price, which we are calling the real price, or which will be equivalent to purchasing power of an individual. Okay, so first 3 points are giving us these views: optimization and allocation, place for optimization and allocation, that is markets, And number three, mechanism by which, two parties, two agents will interact. Finally, doing all these things, what basically we are going to analyze? We are going to analyze two major aspects: positive analysis and normative analysis. What is positive analysis? Study the relationship of cause and effect. Questions that deal with explanation and prediction. If this is the market price, how much you will buy. If this is the market price, how much will be sold, whether there is any profit or whether there is no positive profit, what is the situation, that you are analyzing, what basically the situation is. This positive part tells us, this is happening. Demanders and suppliers are coming to the market and they are behaving in this way. Whether their behavior is justified or not, the commodity a producer is selling, whether that is acceptable or not, ethical or not, or the demand reflected by this group of consumer, whether it is following certain norms or not. So all these ethics, philosophy, norms are there in the background because we are the social elements. So normative analysis will help us to do that. Okay. Many of us are really thinking that, yes, if there is this agricultural bill, what will happen in future? What will be the price of the commodities? What will happen to these farmers? Actually, we are thinking about not an optimization exercise then. We are thinking about for a particular group of individuals. We are thinking about their welfare, ethics, welfare, what should be the best thing for the society. So finally, as students of economics, we understand these ethical issues too. Not only I want these, whether I'll get these, what will be the price of this commodity, okay, who will sell this thing to me? Not only this, whether my friend is also getting this, what will be the best price for the society? So these things are also there. So along with the positive analysis, we need to understand the normative aspects too. Okay. So economics is mixture of all these things. Therefore, I mentioned you will learn about development economics, etc. Okay, so ethical issues are there, welfare issues are there, individual belonging to the society. So what is social optimum? That concept is also there. Okay, so in the I have no more time for today's class, but in future days we will try to understand, starting from the power of kings, popes, etc., how the modern market economics has emerged. That is, the positive kind of things have emerged. And then what are the supportive things, or what are the things we also need to learn? What is the meaning of social choice? What is the meaning of Amartya Sen's capability approach, entitlement approach? What does these things mean? Okay, so from individual choice, how we need to move towards social choice. What is the voter's paradox here? What is democracy here? What is the meaning of entitlement, capability, etc., that we also need to introduce. Okay, so this is the entire periphery of microeconomics. Next day, we will discuss only the last part, and then finally, we will move to the core part, that is, we will really introduce the consumers. We will introduce the consumer theory using the tools and techniques of everything, how we are capturing the behavior of the consumer, that we will start to understand. Similarly, we have to understand the producer's thing. We have to understand how finally, what are the elements we are getting from the consumers and producers? What are the elements we will bring in the market? How the two parties, two agents of the economy will interact, and final solution will come. So one by one, we will start learning all these things, okay? And from the very beginning, since our time is very limited, we have to do all these things subject to time's constraint. I hope you are understanding. So start learning the things from the very beginning, because after 3-4 sessions, your turn will come where you have to present something, So it's not that only I'll present something, okay? After several sessions, when the basic learnings will be done, you will also start presenting something. That may be group presentation, that may be individual presentation. So we have to think on that, what will be the best thing for all of you. Okay, so this is all for today. And now I'll call your roll number, so it will be best if you mention whether you are present or not present.